This is a graph of how many times I've directly hung out with friends each month for the past 8 years. And in August of 2025, I started doing this 3-step strategy, which I'm going to explain in this video. And instantly, that very month, I went from having maybe a social hangout every few months, if I'm lucky, to having 5 social hangouts that month. And I've maintained that high level ever since then. So I know that this strategy, which you can do in just 10 minutes a day, can make you friends, can make you a girlfriend, can make you a boyfriend in just a few weeks. And you can do this all the while being less stressed about your social life. So the 3 steps are, you need to end any endless texting conversations you're currently having. Either invite that person out or stop talking to them for a little bit. Step 2, you need to reach out to people who you're not currently texting. And step 3, you need to follow up with the people who you've now hung out with. And before you start saying, Ivor, I've tried this, I've tried texting people, inviting people out, it doesn't work, people don't like me enough. Don't worry, I'm going to explain how to actually do this the right way. Or there's no right way, but the way that's worked for me, evidently. So you may still need to improve your conversation skills. You may need to go out more, but if you can do this the way I'm saying, which shouldn't be too difficult, you will be amazed at how many people want to hang out with you at least once. And that one chance may be all you need to make a friend. And I'm going to, throughout this video, give examples from my own life of how well this has worked. So step 1 was to end any endless texting conversations. The reason is that these texting conversations don't actually move your kind of relationship forward. So think of it as like you're in a car on a train track, there's a train coming towards you, and if you're having endless texting conversations, you're basically in neutral. What you need to do, you need to either put it in reverse and go backwards off the track, or you need to put it in first. If you're just sitting there revving in neutral, you're not going to be getting anywhere, even though you're putting all this effort in because you're revving. So you may be really stressed, you may be putting in all this effort to text people and it's not going anywhere. You just need to put it in a gear. So those gears are, you need to either put it in first, invite the person out, you'll be surprised how successful this is. Or you need to put it in reverse, you need to just stop the conversation for a little bit. Back in my Tinder days, before I got a girlfriend, I had this one kind of person who I matched with them and we started texting and we were pretty good at first, right? We were like, damn. She said to me, damn, Ivor, we have so much in common. We always were planning to go on a date, but it just never really came around. She wasn't quite into it enough. And maybe 4 months later, we were still texting every day. And then every day became once a week because she wasn't replying anymore. And then eventually she just stopped replying altogether. I spent maybe 5 months or whatever just texting this girl every day and it went nowhere. Pretty annoying. On the other hand, my current girlfriend, after 3 days of texting, I went on a date with her. So in this case, texting endlessly does not make people like you more. You need to take the shot early. And this is obviously with people you met online. With people you met in person, I have another example. One time, I met someone exactly one time, and I think maybe I saw them a second time at an event, I don't know. Several months went by without me talking to them, and then I was like, you know what, I should deploy my steps. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey, do you want to hang out? And he said yes. We talked twice. So people are more willing to hang out with you than you think if they like you. Texting endlessly is not going to get you closer to that. So you're better off asking now. But how do you know if you should ask this person to hang out with you? Because what if they don't like you? What if that one time they met you, you didn't come off very well? As someone who has suffered many, many rejections in his time, the way that I do this is I think, okay, I'm going to be real with myself here. Do I actually think I have a chance? Because a lot of the time I think people are like, yeah, realistically, I don't really have a chance, but I'm going to ask just in case, because you never know, maybe she will be interested. And that's kind of the whole idea of like the worst she can say is no or whatever. But realistically, you don't think you have a chance. You're just doing it as a Hail Mary just in case, because the worst she can say is no. And it's not very considerate to the other person. But if you're just real with yourself, okay, do I actually think there's a chance? Now, you may be wrong. You may think that you have a chance and you don't, but that's okay because you're still kind of acting on what you honestly thought. So it's morally acceptable as long as you're nice about it and you don't continue to bother them after they reject you. And when it comes to like thinking if you have a chance, use evidence. So if you have dry replies, maybe that's evidence that you don't have a chance. Like many dry replies continuously, they don't really like talking to you. Maybe you've said in person, like, oh, we should hang out sometime, and they were like, something like that, that would be evidence to the contrary. If you just have no evidence, for example, someone you've like just met, or if you stopped talking to them ages ago, you don't have any evidence to the contrary. So in that case, it's fine to just do it, and they'll probably say yes. Now, people not replying to you very often is not evidence that they don't want to hang out if you have been texting for a while, because as I've said, endless texting conversations, they just go on forever. Eventually, both people are going to get sick of them, and so they're going to stop replying, even if they do actually like you. But when they do reply, they'll probably not be too dry. So that's how you can kind of know. Dryness, not good. Infrequent replies, fine. So there's two possibilities. Either you have evidence that they are probably not going to say yes, there's a very slim chance, or you don't have that evidence and you should do it. And the other thing is, do you actually want to hang out with them? I know this seems obvious, but it's easy when you're lonely to just hang out with everyone. Conversely, it's easy to meet someone one time and go, oh no, they don't fit these specific standards, so I'm not going to hang out with them. Ask yourself, do you want to hang out with them one more time, honestly? And if you do, then invite them out. You don't need to think, are they going to be my best friend? And you don't need to just go, oh, anyone is better than no one. Don't be at either extreme. Just, be normal. And if you're the kind of person who's just not really interested in hanging out with anyone, write down one thing that you like about the person, or that you think you could learn from them. Do that every day with whoever you met that day or talked to that day. I started doing this recently. We'll see if it works, I guess, but I have a feeling it will. And if you think, oh, I have bad conversational skills, like people are probably not going to like me, so I'm just not going to invite them out. Having just that one thing that they say yes to, and you hang out with them one time, that's going to improve your social life because you've got more volume, you'll get more practice in, so it's still worth it. So then this is how I actually invite people to hang out, which I've done quite a lot recently. So I try to kind of suggest it in person if I can, just vaguely, be like, hey, we should hang out, and gauge their reaction. And then I follow up with the actual details over text. And there's several requirements for what I think you should go for on a date. It should be cheap-ish. It should be fun if it's ideally a group or a date, or it should be productive if it's one-on-one with a friend. It should not be an awkward thing, so there should be an activity or something so that it's not just straight chatting and, a silence would be really weird. So low pressure. It should be, if it's a group, ideally you would invite other people who they like. And it should be short-ish. It shouldn't be, go on a 6-hour hike. So let's say you want to hang out one-on-one with a friend. You may want to just do something productive. If you're at university, study with them. Productive, what I mean by that is stuff that they would already do. This is kind of the best case scenario. You invite them to get food, or you invite them to study or work together, something like that. It's low pressure, you can chat, and they were already doing it anyway. And if they like you, why not just do it with you? Now, I personally would feel weird inviting someone to the movies as a friend. It would kind of feel like a date, if you ask me. But I think plenty of people have had success with that and they say it works. So you could try that as well. And then the other thing is kind of the group path, where you invite different people to a fun group activity that is not crazy expensive, that is not super long, So recently there was this guy who I hadn't seen in years from my high school. 2.5 years, and in high school I wasn't that close with him and we didn't really like each other a ton. And now I thought he was pretty cool. So I invited him to go to the gym and he said yes. So a good activity can make the difference between a rejection and a yes, and then a friendship. And then the other option, instead of inviting someone out, if you really don't think there's a good chance, just end the endless texting conversation, just stop. And then you can text them again a bit later. And then how do you text them and not have endless texting conversations? I'll get to that in step 3, follow-up. So that was by far the biggest step. Now on to step 2, which is to reach out to people who you aren't currently texting. So you don't actually need to be that close to the people who you're reaching out to for step 2. So like I said earlier with the gym guy, hadn't talked to him in years, wasn't that close to him. It doesn't matter how long ago it was. In fact, the longer ago it was, sometimes the better, because they go, oh, this guy might have changed by now, he seems cool. Or they'll go, oh, I just want to catch up with him because we used to be so close, I haven't seen him, there's that kind of nostalgia. You actually probably have better chances the longer ago it was. But the short stuff works as well. It doesn't have to be someone you've talked to a ton. As I said, with the earlier one, talked to someone once or twice, invited them out, they said yes. You don't have to be particularly close to them, you don't have to have seen them recently, and you don't have to have talked to them a lot. Now, I've had success with not texting people, just straight inviting them out. And I've had success with texting people briefly, no longer than a week, ideally like a day. And either works. So really just, it doesn't really matter what you do here. You're probably still going to have a reasonable success rate if you just straight invite people out. So who really cares what you do? It doesn't really matter. Now, for people who you're talking to in person currently, I would actually recommend texting them first. So it is kind of like reaching out because you're basically just texting them like you would text someone who you didn't know for ages or you haven't talked to for ages. And I'd recommend texting first because some people can be real friendly in person, but they were just being polite basically and they don't actually like you. When you text them, then you know because they'll be dry. Almost no one is friendly over text for a long period of time. So if they don't like you, you'll probably know, and then you refer to step 1. And if they do like you, invite them out. The only way this strategy isn't too good to be true is that it is difficult. It's hard to motivate yourself to do this. But remember my graph, that was all those 5 in August. Most of those, I think all of those were just me reaching out to random people, or I think 4 of them were. I've had one this month, I've had some last year. I've had success with, people I've talked to for ages, people I've talked to once or twice, people I haven't talked to in years. Just try it, okay? Just try one. And step 3 is to follow up with people. So I am really not the best at this. I'm getting better recently, but it's not my strong suit and it's difficult, right? You forget to do it. You hang out and then you're like, oh, did they like me? I'm not sure. And you don't follow up. You don't talk to them again. And then if you never follow up, you're never going to make a friend. You're just going to keep hanging out. Sure, you'll improve your social skills, you'll get better at handling rejection, but you'll never make a friend. You'll never get a girlfriend. So to follow up with people after you hang out with them, I always, again, this is not the only way to do it, but I always send a text saying like, oh, thanks for hanging out. We should do this again sometime. It's just kind of like I feel like it's like saying, I liked you and I want to keep going, right? Because otherwise you're leaving the other person wondering, oh, do they like me? Do they want to keep going? I'm basically just telling them. So now, after you've done that, you can have short texting conversations, you can invite them out again, whatever. It doesn't really matter how long you go. Like you can go months and then invite them out again and it'll probably work. The important thing is that you do it, you invite them out again. So, I had someone who, I invited these 2 people out to do something, right? And this was in maybe January and we hung out and I liked it. And then I was like, oh no, I'm scared. I don't want to say anything. I think I sent one text. I was like, hey, we should do this again sometime. And then I said nothing, dead silence for about 4 months or 5 months. And then out of the blue, I was like, hey, you know what? I just started texting them again. And I was like, hey, we should do this again. And we did it again. And then we did it a 3rd time. So in 2025, 3 of those little dots you saw were just from that. So you can go quite a long break without talking to someone and the interest will probably still be there. But do you really want to wait months and months to make a friend? Probably not. So therefore, you could wait ages, so don't get discouraged if you have, but it's best to do it pretty soon. Just ask them out, invite them out again relatively soon. And that's with friends, by the way. You can wait ages. With dates, you can't. See them again like next week, that week, whatever, pretty soon. And so for follow-ups, if you're not just inviting them out again, you may want to have short texting conversations, but you don't want to have endless texting conversations, like I was saying earlier, because they don't work and they're stressful. So what you want to do instead, how do you actually have short texting conversations? You can talk about, are you coming to the next thing if it's like something you're going to in person? If it's compulsory and you have to be there, are you prepared? Are you looking forward to it? You can talk about stuff that you talked about in person, so you can follow up. If they said, I'm going to a concert, after that concert, you put it in your calendar or whatever, this person's going to this concert. And then afterwards, you're like, how was the concert? Stuff like that. Maybe if it's something that's not time, they were like, oh, I'm thinking about trying this new thing. Ask them maybe a week later, did you try this new thing? How do you know when it's time to stop? Varies. Realistically, an endless texting conversation is an endless texting conversation when you or the other person start to feel like, oh, it's like a chore to reply to this person. So don't let it get that far. That's when you end it, as soon as it starts feeling annoying to reply to them. So that is the 3 steps. Step 1, end any endless texting conversations. Just invite people out like crazy or stop talking to them for a little bit. Then you want to reach out to more people, also invite them out, and then you want to follow up with the people who you now hung out with. that is the late stages of friendship making. You have to meet more people as well, and you have to talk to people, but please try it, because I think there is a good chance from my experience that you will get to hang out with people who you haven't hung out with before, and that may lead to a friendship. So you've got very little to lose and much to gain. So I hope this helped, and if you want a video on confidence or something, watch that. Have a great day.